right, welcome to Legal Libations. Welcome back, guys.
We're back. It's been a while.
It's
How
been
you
a
guys
while.
been doing?
Definitely,
Good.
definitely. So, Mac, you are our first featured guest.
Oh man, thank you.
Yes.
Cheers
Thanks.
to that.
Yeah,
Cheers.
definitely cheers to
Mixing
that.
it up a little bit. Mac, thank you for coming. We're
Thank
so
you.
happy to have
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, reach.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I really do. First and foremost, I'm happy that you guys are doing this. You know, you guys look good on camera and everything, and it's just good to see people you've grown with through the business.
Yeah.
From different walks, and I know each and every one of you differently.
Yeah.
So to see you guys sit down, come together, I'm like, wait a minute, like it's cool, you know what I mean? So I kind of slid and was like, hey, you know, you might want to add me in there a little bit. I was just joking though, but I appreciate.
I know we took you up on the offer. You give an offer, we're gonna take you up on it.
I appreciate the opportunity for you guys to have me. You guys can have anybody here, and I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you.
But now that we have you though, so like I'm interested in just kind of knowing like your journey. Like, you know, how did you decide that you wanted to become a lawyer? So for you, like, you know, at what point did you decide that you wanted to be a lawyer, and kind of how did that just play out for you?
Sure. So I'm originally from New York. I was born and raised in the Bronx, and
Down Bronx.
Yeah, down Bronx. Yeah. But I wasn't sold on the idea of law school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still was like, I kind of was intimidated. You know, I didn't see many people that looked like me.
Yeah.
That was a lawyer. But it was just the idea of, you know, putting on a shirt and tie every day, people looking up to you, people respecting you, people doing what you asked them to do.
Yeah.
All that went into it. And I was going to undergrad. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice for undergrad, and I was working at the law firm. And I was doing both full time, going to school at night, working at night. You know, the struggle or hustle that everybody has at some point done.
I don't know many people that came out of law school who actually wanted to be a prosecutor. So like for you, what tempted you to want to be a prosecutor?
So that's a good question. I said I was originally from the Bronx, right? So growing up in the Bronx, you see some crazy things. At least the area I grew up in. You know, you see some crazy things, and you kind of have a view or perspective about the police. And you kind of have a view or perspective about crime overall. You know, a lot of times, a lot of crimes is unreported because of, you know, that's just the code, that's just the nature of, you know, whether it's
snitching.
Whether it's the Bronx or South Side of Chicago or Southeast DC.
Yeah.
That's just some of the things that, you know, different neighborhoods have to deal with. But I just didn't think that was right. You know what I mean? You have people, just because you live in a certain area, you shouldn't be afraid to report something. You should have the same safety, or you should be able to go and speak to someone about something that's going on in your neighborhood. It starts with me. You know, be the change you want to see.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You have to. You can do something about it. And people hear the word prosecution, everybody thinks about you know, that the power or the discretion. Right. The power doesn't come in charging someone.
Yeah.
The power comes in choosing not to charge them.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
That's where you utilize your discretion, because
That's what I was just gonna say.
It's clear cut and dry. You know, somebody steals something, it's like, all right, yeah, clearly you did this. I can charge you. If I don't charge you, somebody else will charge you. But you can see things, and you can say yes. You can see something that, you know, this person made a mistake, and say, okay, maybe a diversion program is for this person.
Right.
You know, like, we don't have to just put handcuffs on somebody and, you know, start them in the system, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys are deciding to charge someone, you know, do you believe personally, just based on your experience, do you believe that race is ever an issue in deciding to charge?
Fortunately, race is something that we're always going to deal with. You know, we're always going to look at, you know, what is the makeup of a victim, of a potential defendant, a potential jury. All of that comes into place. You know what I mean? Your witnesses. It's an unfortunate situation, but I think we have to be cognizant that race is an issue. As a prosecutor, you know, you have black, white, and there's blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have, you know, the race of black, you know, the race of white, or the race of Hispanic or others, but then you have blue being law enforcement. You as the prosecutor, you have to take the time to meet with the victim and the witnesses who are going to be testifying.
Correct.
And you're going to you should be the first person to judge their credibility.
Correct.
You know.
So how much discretion do you guys actually really have? Because I know some people wonder, well, you know, this particular office may have a certain agenda that they're higher up. So like, no matter what, if this kind of case comes in, this is what needs to be going on. So how much discretion do the ASAs really have?
So when I was in district court, it was very, very high volume. You know what I mean? You had your cases where you knew that, you know, all right, we can do diversion with this. We can do, community service for this. But then there are certain cases you're like, you know what? If this goes left and it ends up in the news,
That's my job.
I need my job. I can't let, because you have to think like that.
Yeah.
It can go left.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want as a prosecutor is, cases. Prosecutor throws out case.
Yeah.
10 o'clock news, because now you're gonna have to answering questions.
I sometimes get annoyed because there is something called prosecutorial discretion. It's valid. You can use it, and I think I know for a fact I took it for granted when I was a prosecutor because we had the prosecutorial discretion. But when you see other counties and you're like, wait a minute, okay, this is clear cut. You can make this decision. Why are you twiddling your thumb saying, "Oh, I need to speak with my supervisor"? This is not that case that is going to put you on, Channel 5 News. It's not. This is not that case. This is not it. But yeah, it's fun. It's funny that you actually posed that question because prosecutorial discretion, although there is prosecutorial discretion, it varies from different counties and different administrations. Let's put it
and
that
I'll say
way.
this: I was fortunate. We were fortunate to to have an employer believing us.
Exactly.
To trust in us.
Yeah.
To effectively negotiate and things like that.
Wow.
You go to some jurisdictions, they don't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was fortunate.
Yeah.
So one of the other questions that I always just kind of wanted to know, especially being a prosecutor in a county like Prince George's County, where a lot of the people that you are seeing are African American. And also kind of knowing this idea that burnout happens with people in all different professions, all different walks of life. And so I would imagine seeing so many people that look like you, just day in and day out, and how busy Prince George's County is. Like, did you ever get to a point where you just kind of got burned out on just, seeing our people getting prosecuted over and over again?
It can be depressing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would classify it as burnout, but seeing the same thing every day, it can be depressing. But I think that calls for what can we do to effectively change this? You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing is to see it and be like, this sucks. I'm going to change my profession. That's one way to handle it. But another way you can handle it is say, okay, we're seeing the same thing. How can we get involved in certain communities?
You said be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
And put a stop to this. It starts with the youth. What programs do the youth have so that they're not doing things?
Yeah.
Because I feel once you get someone on the right track, I don't want to say the rest is easy.
Yeah.
That's half the battle.
Yeah.
In certain areas and in certain communities, you see the same thing. You see the victims and the defendants. They look alike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but what are we doing? And that's just not prosecutors. That's defense attorneys.
Yeah.
You guys as
All
well.
of us.
As not even as lawyers, but as community members.
Yes.
What can we do to effectively change, the patterns?
Yeah.
What would you say is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I first of all, I've had many mentors. I've had a ton of people just see me and say, hey, listen, you have potential.
Yeah.
Me not even recognizing the potential that they see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I am very fortunate. But one of the things I was told very early on was, and I think you could apply this to life, to school, to sports, anything. You cannot be afraid to fail.
Okay.
When the opportunity arises, you're gonna be scared.
Yeah.
You're gonna be nervous. Even when you win, because believe it or not, when you win,
You
you
still
tend to
win.
focus on everything you did right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you win, you're like, oh yeah, I killed it.
Yeah.
But trust me, there was some things you could have improved
Right.
upon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you lose, there's so many things that's going through your head. I could have done this right. I could have done that right.
I forgot to ask
I
this question.
said, how did I forget to, So you tend to, when you win, unfortunately, you tend to focus on all the good things you've done.
Yeah.
But when you lose, that's when you have your moments like, man, I need to do this better. I need to do that better. But all that comes by taking those chances. You cannot be afraid to lose. No one got where they're at today.
Yeah.
None of us at this table got here where we're at today by not taking chances.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We all
You
took
can't end
chances.
it on a better note.
You can't end it on a better. So on that note, take chances. Do not be afraid to fail/lose.
and learn from your losses.
And learn from your losses.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cheers
Cheers,
to that.
guys.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, no,
Thank you
thanks for
guys
coming.
coming.
Thank you.